And then also, every once in a while we're looking for more curriculums, and if we already have a curriculum or if I'm too busy, we can also commission sometimes curriculum, so like an Angular curriculum, for instance, or something like that. If we need a curriculum or think it's beneficial, sometimes we'll pay for you all to write version 1 of the curriculum, and then you'll teach it to work out all the bugs and stuff like that. So there's money to be made for full-time software developers at Austin Coding Academy if you are interested. We only hire full-time developers. We don't hire like old students unless, we've been around for 4 years, so we have people who graduated 4 years ago that I guess teach now. But other than that, we do pride ourselves in hiring experts. We have a developer series. We're trying to teach, just kind of extend current developers and definitely see the trends around town. We get a lot of asks for React Native developers, especially if you're a React shop. It's pretty beneficial. For those who don't know what React is, or React Native, React is a popular front-end library. It's kind of comparable to Angular or Vue, or if you were ever like a Backbone developer, that's not really in style anymore, but it's like it's like smaller than those other, like it handles one thing really well, but it's kind of expanded to a framework-esque thing, so that's pretty neat. React Native is, basically some clever people at Facebook realized that the way they packaged React components, they could actually package them and put anything behind that package, including Swift code and Java code. And so you develop using React like nothing, like it looks like a React app to anybody else, but then you press go and it actually generates native Swift or Java code. So this isn't like, I don't know if anyone used Cordova or PhoneGap or some of those that like made like a fake app where it's like basically just a wrapper around a web app. Do you remember those? I don't even think those are allowed anymore. I think Apple got rid of them, but it doesn't do that. These are native, totally native apps. Actually, you can open up and look at the Swift code that it generates if you're, interested in that. But React Native, it's pretty hacky. Like all of coding is like pretty hacky at this point, but this is like super hacky, and it's really hard to get everything together. So Expo, I guess is a company. I don't know. All their stuff's free. Seems like. They came around, and basically what they did is they just found like the most popular things like building and deploying and generating keys and stuff for the app stores and stuff like that, and they just turned everything into nice CLI commands. Usually you have to go and like click around a million times and install license keys and all kinds of garbage. Expo just streamlines all that. So Expo isn't like bubble wrap. It's more of like, if you're a React developer, do you know like Create React App, which is like kind of what everyone uses now? It's like, it's nice because it kind of comes prepackaged, but there is like a big red eject button that kind of puts you off on your own. That's kind of what this is. As long as you stay inside their bubble, you're like golden. You can be a mobile developer in a weekend, granted, whatever app you're building. So that's what's cool about it. You'd have to download a lot of dependencies. First of all, make an account on Expo, so it's Expo basically just handles, every time you make a change in React, you have to rebuild your app, right? So this kind of like just rebuilds in the background, hence why it drains your battery so bad. And that's what's happening. It also comes with a nice little client app for your phone. I don't know, they change their marketing all the time. But it comes with a nice client app for your phone, because you're developing, you're gonna need a phone. So either you can use your phone, or you can download really nice emulators. If you have Xcode, you already have those emulators. If you don't know how to get to your emulators, I think you just type in simulator now. Yeah, they used to hide it, but now they expose it. And you can just open the word simulator.
There's a menu inside the Expo app that's
Yeah.
running in the terminal. You can hit I and it'll open it.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, that's gotten better. Sometimes that gets weird, but you can always just open a simulator too if you don't use Expo. This is what a simulator is. It basically just simulates iOS. And you can change between the different devices, which is your life now, because you have to code for every stupid device that comes out every 6 months.
Yeah, this little Expo menu pop up when I opened it, and it says you can press Command D to get back at any time. What does it mean by get back?
I don't know. We'll try it when it opens up here in a minute. I've never done it. So that's simulator. You can also download the Android Studio simulator. I'm going to show these now so you can get them downloading because it may take a while, it may not. And then sometimes if we all download at the same time, there's like throttles sometimes, and it may throttle us. So make sure to get that done now. So you're going to open up, once that's downloaded, you'll open up your Android Studio, and you'll have to go to Configure and AVD Manager, and then this won't be there. And you'll say create virtual device, and you'll pick just like the other one. You'll pick which one. Don't pick one with the Play Store because it's like massive, and you don't need it right now. Just pick one without the Play Store probably, and say next, and you'll probably have to download one. Just download the latest release Pi, and finish, and then it does this, and you press play, and now we have an Android device here. It's white. You have no idea how long it took me to do this, how long it took me to figure this out. So long.
Real quick, what was that called? It was called Android Studios?
Yeah, there's a link here. If you haven't looked up here yet, github.com/Austin Coding Academy/React Native Workshop. That's the README I'm looking at.
All right. Thank you.
I know I'm going fast, but there's not really that much content. I want everyone to be able to build something and make sure it's working before you leave. Because if it's not working, you'll be up till 4 a.m. getting something to work. It's all Node stuff, so there's an Expo CLI. You can use NPM, you can use Yarn, whatever. It doesn't matter. I took this from I don't know, I guess I installed Watchman, I don't remember, but at the bottom here it says you may have to install Watchman, so I guess if you have a Mac, install Watchman. And so while we give everybody a few more minutes to download stuff, you'll notice that the way Expo works is that it just continuously builds in the background. And whenever we get our app up and running, you'll see here that it actually installs React Native. Just if you were building, if you never knew about Expo and you did React Native the normal way, you're actually downloading like sort of like a hacked version of React Native that Expo uses that makes everything work really nice. It's not always super caught up to the latest React, and so just be careful. Don't come in here and be like, oh, I'm just going to put React in there and download the latest React, because Expo just may not be ready for it. That's one thing you got to worry about. But this isn't like web development where you're always on the latest thing. Like, you got to be careful, right? You can't release something that breaks on the latest phones. In fact, if you have the iOS beta 13, I didn't install it for some dumb reason, like everything's broken. Like everybody's apps are broken because I don't think they're allowing like non-64-bit apps anymore. So anyone who had like old style apps, like big companies, like I went to Disney, I downloaded a Disney app, like so it's just all broken. So be careful there. All right, let's get started and see what happens. After you install, does anyone not have an NPM installed? I didn't actually give instructions about installing NPM. Does anyone not know what NPM is? Yeah? Yeah, that's the world we live in. We're all Node developers now. All right, so Expo init, React Native Workshop. Again, I'm just going to build this repo. You can clone it and watch, or you can follow along. Doesn't matter. I'll just X that out, I guess. Okay, so Expo init React Native Workshop. So this is like similar to the create React app command. You say create React app and you just like give it a name. This is the same thing. React Native Workshop is the name of my app. I don't know what happens if we all do the same name. I don't know if that'll cause a problem, because if you use the app on your phone, I don't know. But so you may want to name it something else. It doesn't matter.
And then you can manage the project that you create in the Expo website when you, I guess, create an account there. Is that what?
Yeah. So it does. So the Expo does two things. First, it lets you develop the app, because you can't develop on an airplane. You have to have internet connection, because you have to talk to Expo to be able to even develop within their system. It does that for all kinds of reasons, but mainly it's because of like if you use you have to download special keys for things like notifications and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of hoops you have to work through just to even get on a store. And so you use it's almost like SSL certificates, right? Like, can you do HTTPS on a plane? Like, not the right way, right? It's the same thing. Yeah, you have like all these things. You can, if you like TypeScript, I guess you can do TypeScript. This is new to me too. This tabs one actually gives you like one component, but I don't like that component. It's kind of not as cool. So I usually just do blank. So that's what we'll do. We'll do blank. Yeah, you can name it whatever you want here. The name of your app visible on your home screen. So React native app. Name it whatever you want. I guess I have Yarn, so Yarn's cool.
Is this pre or post your npm install?
It's you should have installed the Expo CLI already.
I did. That just opens up. It stays open almost like I open a React account, like a app React. Is it supposed to stay open, or should I close it? Should I control C out of that? Here's my npm install.
You did npm install. It's supposed to be on dash global. Just a big old error.
It's probably not done. It paused for like
is this
5
Git
minutes.
bash? So Git bash has really bad feedback when you download packages. So if you're using Git bash, that sucks. Sometimes you can use, I like Commander on Windows, if you ever use Commander. It's like it downloads Cygwin, so it has like more bash support. So I highly recommend Commander. I think it's CMDR or some stupid name. CMDER. This is like a better Git bash. I highly recommend that.
It's got that fancy lambda in front of it.
Yeah,
That
it's
was good.
it's cool. It's a little trendy, but yeah, you can go real deep. So let's see. Okay, so now is whenever we start seeing if our computers are set up right. Where's my terminal here? Here's my terminal. So I'm going to CD into React Native Workshop, and I'm just going to open it up in VS Code. You can use anything. You don't have to use Xcode, which is great. I'm not a big IDE fan, but I do like VS Code, so VS Code's pretty good for this. And this looks almost like a React app, right? We can kind of compare and contrast here, but you really wouldn't know you weren't using React if you were just looking at the code. I would say the main thing that I see that's different, or the first thing that's going to bite you, is that you can't use HTML stuff because there is no HTML here. What you get is you get a text and a view. A text is like a span, but you have to do text. The view is like a div, but everything has to be inside of a view. You can't just write hacky stuff. It has to be component based. And React Native does give you all kinds of stuff though. React Native elements, I guess. I don't know what they're called. Components. Oh, that's actually a library. Hold on. You go to the React Native page. States, props, height and width, layout. Oh, components and APIs. Yeah, so you get some basic stuff. You get a view, you get text, you get an image tag, you get scroll view, text input. All that stuff you just pull in from React Native. Pretty good, really good documentation by Facebook. So you can try to stick with those. There's no like CSS like you're used to. It's all the CSS and JS stuff. If you've been writing CSS and JS, some people have been doing that now. You'll feel right at home with that. But yeah, you can either use the style, like if you want to create style sheets like you know them, you can create style sheet files and then import them just like you would sort of normal style sheets, but they have to be the JavaScript. It's no hyphens, right? You can also directly put things in here as well.
Could you
possibly tab in one just to make it larger a little bit?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, again, some people do this anyway in their React apps now, so it's probably not that big of a difference so far. And there's not really like Sass, but it's like JavaScript, right? So you can do loops and all kinds of garbage that you want. So that's kind of neat. Okay, cool, let's see what happens. Let's boot it up. We should be able to boot from here. I'll just open up a little terminal here. And ideally, I should just be able to say npm or yarn, whatever, yarn start or npm start. And that's going to do a whole bunch of stuff. Mainly this part. This window is kind of important. That's kind of like where your logs go, where your errors go. It gives us these nice little buttons right here. If you have an Android phone with the client app, you can open up the client app right now and just get the QR code and it'll open it up. I don't think it works with iOS. iOS, you normally just open your app. And if you're signed in somehow, it like connects them. We can figure that out. I'll figure out how that works. Or it may just know. So I would do it on my phone, but if you have iOS 13, the client app's broken because everything's broken in the world. But yeah, it is nice. It is nice to do on your phone because the emulators are cool, but you can't. It's really hard to do touch. Like it's hard to really know what it's like with touching because you have to like kind of pretend with your mouse that you're swiping, stuff like that. So the phone's good usually at the end to make sure that it just feels good. But emulating on your computer, I think, is a little more productive. So. Is anyone trying on their phone but can't figure it out? We can take a break and make sure it's working there.
I had a timeout. Maybe the port's closed. I don't know.
Sometime, whenever it starts building, your computer should start doing something. Some stuff should a whole bunch of stuff should.
It says tunnel ready, but when I scan the QR code, it times out there.
Are you on Android?
Yeah.
I know the solution to this. Hold on. I think you have to select.
Oh, I'm on LAN.
You're on. You have to select another one of these. I don't remember which one.
Okay.
I think it's actually tunnel. Select tunnel and then rescan because the QR code changed, and see if that works. And honestly, you may have to have a cable. I think my students have got on Android. They stick it on tunnel and they stick in a cable, just a USB cable, and it works. That might be what tunnel means. Maybe that means you have the cable. I found the experience a little bit better with a Mac to an iPhone than any other combination.
You were launching this through npm start, and because my app.js has a lot more code on it than app.js that you were looking at.
Let's see.
I noticed that you have 13 lines of code, and
It depends.
I cloned it, and it's got 55.
Oh yeah, because that's my finished app.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you just want to press go, you can, but
Oh.
yeah, we're just starting from the
That's easy.
beginning. Yeah, that's all this right here, all this stuff. It's just done already. This is what it comes with. It's working? Okay, are you plugged in?
No.
Okay, so tunnel, but wireless?
Tunnel, and I scan the code.
Okay, cool, yeah, so that's what you have to do with Android. If anyone wants to get Android working. And does anyone need any help here? This is the stuff to ask for. This is the stuff you won't get later on your own. You have to do some Googling. All right, cool. So works on your phone, that's cool. Not as cool as emulating. So let's see what happens when you emulate. So you can only have one thing open at a time. You can't have your phone doing it and having an iOS emulator and an Android emulator. You can only have one thing emulating at a time. And it things will start to break down if you don't. So make sure that you X out of the app totally, or even reboot, rerun it to make sure that it's not going to yell at you. So yeah, so iOS simulator, this is pretty good. Open this up, it'll try to open it. Now in React, you'll notice a whole lot of times things will just break because everything's timing. It just doesn't know. Right now, it's kind of waiting, kind of guessing how long it takes for this thing to open. So sometimes it'll just be a big red error message and be like, not good, something broke. Just press it again. Just press it again. your whole life is just like rebuild, because it's trying to time things, and there's no way, there's no hook, it's all hacky, there's no hooks or anything, and so a lot of times it just doesn't work. You just try again, and then it'll start working. It didn't do it that time. I thought it would. Usually it does. And so you see, I see some motion here, down here. You can kind of see it building. It's small, but it's like, building 100%, whatever. And then here is, this is an app.
So I got it running on the simulator and my phone at the same time. You're saying that's,
It'll start. Are you an Android?
no, it's iOS.
They're both iOS? Oh, maybe it works now. I don't know. It always starts yelling at me. Like, the second I'll try to do something on one, the other one will turn red. It's red right now, huh? Is it yelling at you?
No, that's,
Oh, it's just this angle, I guess. But I don't know. Maybe it
it's
works.
the blue light filter.
But I wouldn't trust it. Oh, it says tunnel for me. It's supposed to be on LAN, I think, but I'm not sure. They just released a brand new thing of Expo like just a few weeks ago, and so I was writing the updated curriculum, and see, everything seems to be a lot more stable, which is good. Cool. So that's cool. Any problems with that so far? Is that working for everybody? Huh? You're on, okay, so you can't use iOS, right? But you can do Android. So let's look what happens with Android. So I'm gonna shut this down. I'm gonna click this one. Android should be able to use, everyone should be able to use Android. See this what happens? Oh wait, that happens because I didn't start one. So this one's not automatic. You have to open Android Studio. The link's in the README from earlier. And you have to go to Configure, AVD Manager, and you have to create a device. So I have no devices, I can create a device, pick something. Try to pick something without a Play Store, because the Play Store is like huge. Make sure you click download, and one of these is upgrade. I think you just click the download button and it downloads, then you can select it. And next. And don't just like go download crazy. Every emulator is massive, it's like gigabytes big. So you'll quickly run out of room if you just start downloading a bunch of stuff.
Have you ever had when you're creating a project, it says that the Expo CLI is in non-interactive mode?
Yeah, I have. I don't remember why though. Is it saying that for you right now?
Yeah. So it doesn't let me give it an input of blank or tabs or whatever. So somehow I have to get it out of.
Oh, what terminal are you using?
Git.
The Git Bash one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same problem. There's no feedback for Git Bash. So you're gonna either need to use PowerShell or Commander.
Okay.
Commander I think is the best because most of your Stack Overflow answers are all Bash answers anyway. So Commander will install Sigwin, which is I guess a port or something. I'm not sure really what it is, but it works. A lot of Bash stuff in there. It's an emulator, so I guess they're wrappers.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I've got this, I open it up, opens up a nice Java thing, or an Android phone. This is cool, these emulators are really cool. This is how like Instagram bots and stuff are made, right? They just use like automation and emulators. Can't do anything about it. I think even like it maps like the camera on your computer, it'll map to here. So you can use like a lot of the native phone stuff or you can simulate it, which is pretty cool. Cool, so yeah, this has to be running for this button to work. So it has to download the latest version of Expo, puts it on there. The same app you use, the client app. I'm gonna tell you all a cheat code that a lot of Expo developers don't know. That's really funny. If I ever get this up. I think you have to, so that's down. You have to click it again, maybe. So if you're on your phone and you're developing, a lot of Expo developers don't know, but if you need to like refresh or anything, you have to physically shake your phone, which is really funny. The first time you show somebody that, they'll think you're crazy. But if you physically shake your phone, it'll go to like a special Expo menu, and it's like refresh or go to home screen, because there's not really a good way to exit out of your app. It's an app, right? And so there's not really like an exit out. It's not an iframe, you know, it's an app. So, but on the emulator, I think you, oh man, I forgot how to do it on here. There's a shake. There's a hotkey, and the other one there's a drop down that says shake device, but I guess there's some hotkey I forgot, but that's how you do
Command
it.
D on iOS.
Yeah, it doesn't do it on here. I don't remember what it is. That's okay. We don't need it right now. Okay, so that should be good. Any questions so far?
So, do I need the Android Studio to be running on an Android device? It did work for me though. That's the reason I'm asking.
It did work?
Yeah.
Okay, I was about to say, I don't know. Probably not, because it just needs to make the build.
Okay.
And I think whenever you install Expo CLI, I think it installs just the things that it needs just to build.
Okay.
So behind the scenes, probably not. I think you do need Xcode on a Mac though. But I think as long as you have Java or JDK installed, maybe, I think maybe that's all it needs. I'm not really sure. Yes.
I know it's a little bit, I guess, further along in the class maybe, but I've worked with React Native before, but when it comes to like, I guess saying that you're done with your app, how do you, is there like a way to, or are there instructions on how to push it to the store?
Yeah, so Expo, it will handle all that stuff for you. You can take a look at it. Usually I just type, Expo publish. That's the Expo publish command is what I usually use. So there are three layers of mobile apps. There's the Expo layer. If you're using Expo, that you can kind of push in. It's sort of like a GitHub for your app, right? And you can share. You can share with other people who have Expo, and you can download them. It's kind of like you don't have to have permission from a store or anything. It's just sort of like, here's my Expo app. You can take a look at it. On Android, you can actually use them as real apps, and I'm sure that's how people get weird stuff on their phone. But Apple didn't like that, obviously, because that's kind of going around all their security features. So you can't share, you have to actually share your login information to your Expo account on your phone to share that. The next level is called Test Flight, if you ever use Test Flight on iOS. And Android has just beta, I think it's just called beta or something. But you can sign up to be a beta or an alpha tester. Hi. And so that's anyone can, any devs can do that, and you can invite people, and as long as your email's on the list, you can download it, stuff like that. And then there's the actual releasing. Expo takes care of all of it. Let's see. So this is publishing to the Expo store. Yeah, where's this? Guides. Yeah, deploying to app stores. There you go. And it kind of goes through making a splash screen. You have to do the little thing, making an icon picture, stuff like that, stuff you need. And then you come down here, and then it's the good instructions. And then building standalone apps are important. If you want to integrate Facebook, have the Facebook API, they need a copy of your app. Or most integrations, you have to actually submit your app for review. So you have to download the actual IPK or APK or IPA file and send it to them. So that'll help you there.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Anyone can answer it. What is the Wi-Fi?
I think it's Capital Factory Guest. You have to do some Facebook login or something
We
like
can skip
that.
that.
You can
Yeah, I
skip
guess
the
do
first
that.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They hide it at the bottom. It's skip this part or something like that. Yeah.
No.
They got me.
Yeah, I get you.
No, I skipped it. And then my email is not an email at gmail.com, in case anybody wants to email me.
Yeah, so the way it works, these are kind of the commands. You do expo build iOS, and that actually sends it to expo servers to build in Android, and then you say, yeah, publish, and then you set these release channels or beta channels. This looks really scary, but if you read through it, you can step through it pretty easily. And you can also just find some YouTube dude doing it, and just follow what he does. This part's pretty popular and pretty scary. But yeah, we won't do that here. And what's really cool about Expo that I don't know how to do without Expo is things like integrating it with your continuous integration, right? Because you really want the latest version. Since it's just command line, things for everything. You just put it on Circle CI or Travis or whatever, and every time you push the master, it'll just push out a new beta build. So that's kind of a big deal about Expo. Like I can't imagine not having that. And then also, most times when you install things, like I'll give you an example of one that's kind of a pain. Here's another navigation library that I don't like. Like the whole point of React Native is that it's just kind of like yarn and npm install your way to success, whatever the saying is. It kind of takes care of everything. But if you don't do like an Expo specific library, you do have to open up Xcode and you have to go hand drag stuff into the specific dependency directories and stuff like that. And if you're just not used to that, that's kind of a pain. Also, when you're working in a team, it's hard because now you have to put instructions with every stupid pull request you do and trying to kind of guide them. If you stay inside Expo, so if you choose the right libraries and stay inside Expo, it's just like a yarn install, and then you have all the latest stuff. So here's an example of stuff I usually try to find something else. If I start seeing Swift code or pictures of Xcode, a lot of times you'll see pictures of Xcode and people dragging stuff. I usually try to stay away from them at first, unless I just have to have it. And we'll get into that stuff later. Okay, cool. So yeah, we have an app up and running. You can go to this site and just follow along.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Or you can just like clone it and just run it and you'll be caught up. It's
so
finished.
I need to download the client app or do it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of catch up. We'll take a break here in a bit and let everyone kind of start building stuff. All right, so let's start building some stuff. So it's like a React app. Let's build a new, build maybe a components folder or something. And inside here, React. I have some hotkeys in here. React. Yeah. You can copy paste from README if you want. I have some plugin installed that does this for me, but you bring in React like normal. You gotta have React. But now we have React Native, and you have to bring in your text and views. We talked about those being the most basic building blocks, or like divs and spans. And then you just return it. This is a perfectly fine React Native component. That's what we'll say. This is our home page. And if I wanted to add some style to it, you could do something like, height. Thankfully, React Native respects most Flexbox stuff. So if you're pretty comfortable with Flexbox, thank God for that, because you have a lot of devices you're going to have to code for. Height, 100%. width. And there's also a height 100%, which is kind of cool. It's kind of hard, kind of weird to do sometimes on the web. 100%, and then justify content. One thing to note though about Flexbox is on the web, your Flexbox is usually oriented as rows, right? So things stack up to the left. On React Native, they're column based. So like, you know, you do flex direction column, that's like the default one. So you have to tell it row if you want to flex the row. That doesn't make sense, and then we don't care. Justify content, align, oh, what is it, center? Center. That's cool. If you want to type it, I think this is exactly word for word what's in my README, almost. Now, one thing that is going to start biting you, if you're really bad about in web to add things like color to divs for like a font color, that's not good. You can't do that here. Divs are containers. You only do container things with them. Texts are fonts and texts and spans. Texts are like font colors and font sizes and stuff like that. That's very, very strict, what you can and can't do. It honestly just follows the rules we're supposed to follow. But it's very, very strict. Things will just blow up in your face or not work at all. So that's not a super big deal. We'll come to let's make sure this is working. I'm just gonna get rid of all this garbage here. I'm just gonna say this stuff. I'm just going to say import home, and then I come down here. So just basic React. You have props, you have state, you have Redux. We're not in Redux, but all your Redux garbage works. That's pretty cool. I don't know about hooks and things. I don't know. I haven't even used them yet, so good luck. Doesn't like empty stuff. Here's my error screens, right? And not only that, I think it really yells at you when you're simulating. They've changed this. It used to be full red and like used to be really big font. I swear I used to dream that. Like I just saw so many errors. But and also hopefully it looks a little bit better. Maybe it's different now. But your errors here, sometimes you'll do something and it'll cause like a whole bunch of errors, right? I mean, kind of like your console. Like sometimes errors cause more errors and stuff. There's really only one thing wrong. But the problem is you have to go through each stupid one. Like you'll say dismiss, and if there's another error, you have to like dismiss. So sometimes you'll think that something's really broken, but you just have to dismiss like 20 times to get to the bottom. So be aware of that. Sometimes I just rebuild. Like if I get an error, I just rebuild from scratch instead of saying dismiss because you don't know how deep that stack is. This will usually tell you over here though. This has gotten better. Yeah, so this is mad at me. I can't have an empty attribute. Again, it's very, very strict. Most of the stuff React yells at you about, this will just straight up blow up and not work. Unable to resolve ./component/home. Did I not name it that? Oh, I didn't put it in the folder. There it is. Now it's in there. Now it's building. And there's nothing there. Center, text home. I don't know why it's not there. Let's see. Let's see what we have. We can play with this stuff. So this is where I like to shake. So I come here and I'll shake. Where is it? Like shake gesture, and sometimes you can you can do element inspector, kind of like in your browser. Yeah, well, just white. Hardware, shape, reload. Oh, here we go. Okay, there was an error and it didn't even tell me. I had to break something. Oh, I got rid of view, but I needed view, so now I gotta put it back. There we go. Tap on something to inspect. You get like, it like simulate, this stuff isn't real, right? But it like simulates padding and margins and stuff like that. But behind the scenes, it's all Swift code and their equivalents. This stuff I almost never use this thing, only when I'm really lost, because it's actually pretty hard to navigate and it's really kind of a pain to get out of, so I'm just gonna turn it off. There you go, home, anyway. Everyone feel pretty good about that so far? That's good. React Native's not too bad, right? This is still like a fully native, you could release this in theory on the App Store as an app. It'd be a native app, nothing weird. Cool. Okay, I think one of the single hardest things in React Native development is routing. Routing is weird. It like feels similar to, like if I explain it, you're like, that's not much different than a browser, but it actually is a whole lot of moving pieces to navigate. And so I kind of go over them here because this is more from experience. You may find something better, but this is the best way that I've ever been able to do it without doing something weird and going into Xcode. But I've broke down navigation into 3 things because there's 3 libraries and they each do just one part, and it's really hard to find things to put them together. The first one is React Router. So if you're a fan of React Router already, that's good. React Router. React Router DOM. That used to be real popular. I don't know if people still use that. Probably. But you can see here that they do have a web and a native, and the native works almost exactly the same way. Then we have, so that's just basic, like if I click a link, it goes to the page that I want to, right? It works the same way as React Router works. Side menus are kind of hard. This is like an old library that I found that is like the best thing ever. They've never updated it, but they don't need to because it works so well. It basically just lets you swipe from the left and the right. Something that I actually found really hard to do with all the other libraries. So that's pretty cool. You can slide with your thumb. Like sometimes you just slide and it comes out, or you press the little button and it opens. And then the last part is the back button. Browsers have always given us back buttons. We never had to think about it, but we actually have to worry about it because if you ever think about your mobile apps, you don't really go from page to page. You just like slide a new thing on top of it, right? It's more of a stack than just a URL change. Okay, so you have to kind of think about that whenever you're building your app. That a lot of times people just go backwards and forwards. You need to make sure that you take that in consideration. And so this kind of out of the box gives you that, and gives you a top nav. So it also lets you kind of like swipe to go back if you like that. You can always turn that stuff off. All right, so with those 3 things, we can install them using yarn or npm. And you have to, I'm pretty sure you have to turn off your thing to install things and use them right.
Is Yarn just Mac?
No, Yarn is like an alternative to npm. Because there was a time when NPM got really bad, like it wasn't resolving things correctly, and so Facebook, I think, got frustrated, so they built like an NPM plus called Yarn. It was just like a better NPM, and it worked a little faster. But now NPM is like caught up, so NPM's just as good. So it really doesn't matter. If you use NPM, just use NPM. It really doesn't matter. Any questions so far? Does anyone disagree with how I explain things, like Yarn? Okay, I think it's all garbage, so I'm not attached to anything. Cool. Okay, so if we want to navigate, why don't we make a few screens that we can navigate in between so we can test out, make sure it's working. So we already have our home component here. I'm going to make another one called page 1. I'm going to make another one called page 2. Create a new, how do I do this? Rack native. Yeah, okay. And I'm just going to copy paste my home. And just change the words so I know I'm somewhere else. Okay, 3 screens. Actually, if you go look at other setups, or if you even download like the Expo app, they call everything screens, which is like that was sort of the canonical way to build these things in the past. But if you're a React developer, you don't have to follow that stuff. I still use like components and containers or whatever. However you want to design your React apps, it doesn't matter. Okay, and now we will attempt this very hard part. Okay, we'll do this one at a time. Let me see how I'm going to do that. We'll pick the most inner one, which is this navigation. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my first library called React Router Navigation. Which one does that one do? That does that actually just gives me my toolbar up on top. Let's see what happens. This actually might have to be inside React Router, but I forget. Navigation, I'll pull this down. So we can look at the different parts of navigation. Navigation takes a title, that's just the title that's on top of your app, whatever your app, like where your brand would go. Let me just comment this out for now, the button. Or just remove it all together. And then you have things called cards. I don't know why they call them cards. I don't know why they think card is a good word for that. But card is like a route. Like in React Router, how you say route into it. For some reason, they just renamed the word route to card. But it takes almost all the same kind of parameters as a React Router route would take. It takes a component. It takes a path. So this is actually really cool. This is actually maybe not every routing thing, but it actually, you can kind of think of it as like browser routing, which is / whatever, and you can make it nest. You can pass in variables if it's like something like /user /ID number or whatever, and you can pass things in like that. That's really important because you really don't want to learn another way to navigate. It's been very hard for a web developer up until now to like really ingrain how we navigate. You don't want to learn a new one. So we have these. Let's go ahead and import these other libraries. These other components. We have page 1. And we have page 2. so that looks good, page 1, page 2. And now we can boot it up. This may break because I'm not sure if I have to put this inside of a router. So notice, so this is interesting. So I turned off my server, but I left my emulator running. I don't know what happens if what happens when I click that, anything? Okay, there you go. I used to have to shake it. Sometimes shaking it would break it though, right here. But it seems like it's better now. Yeah, there you go. So it does sound like that I have to be inside of an actual router for me to use my navigation library. And so let's go install that. So that's really easy. All I literally have to do is wrap it in native router. That's it. That's the only step there. Super great. So install native router. I'm about to use native router. Come here, I'm just going to say native router. Did I break something? Yep. Building, and now it doesn't like that. Oh. Okay. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. See how it's like, oh, this doesn't work, but I saved it. Like it doesn't say it anymore. So you have to come over here and you gotta shake it. Something got out of whack, like the timing got off. And so it's like updating, but it doesn't think it's changing, stuff like that. So this is when you come and click, if you click this miss, it'll just be white. I don't know how to get out of this now because I got away from reload. That's where the shaking is valuable. Shake it, and then reload. There we go. So now we're good. And again, if you're on your phone, you physically have to shake your phone to get to that screen. Okay, so this is cool. We have a nav bar. We have the home down here. I'm home. So it is, so just like browsers, the slash is like the root. That's like where it starts, your root path there. I need to be able to click around to get inside places. So let's see what else I did. I installed, looks like a nice little side menu here. And I just stuck that. Now I stuck everything. And I stuck, everything's inside your router because that's how routers work. But all my navigation, the routes and stuff, because remember, like routing's like kind of fake in an SPA, right? Like it really just hides and shows things. It doesn't actually go between pages. This is kind of the same thing where it kind of like loads things and makes like a whooshing, like what do they call it? Like a swiping motion to make you think you're going to different screens, but you're really not. So this is like a hack router. You can't install the other full native routers, but they're like indistinguishable. And the other one you have to actually go and install Xcode stuff. So you can go that route if you want. I like this one because it's hasn't failed me yet. What was I doing? Oh, sidebar, side menu. So import side menu from something. So again, all I'm doing is wrapping everything inside that side menu so it's there. And what's it mad about? Navigation. Is this still doing it? See, it's really caught up on a mistake I made about 30 seconds ago. This is y'all's life now, so you got to break out of it and just boot it back up, because who knows why. And then shake this. Now when you are up at 4 a.m. using your phone and you're frustrated, you're going to accidentally throw your phone. I swear. I swear it will happen, so watch out for that. You will shake it harder than you ever shake anything. This didn't finish, but this looks finished. Okay, this is cool. Can I swipe? Can I do it? No, I can't. I guess because there's no component. Sometimes I should be able to swipe it. I guess I can't swipe it yet. I guess I have to put something in there first. Okay, so come here. What do I have? Oh yeah, that's right. So you have to put, so this is a React component. This is a stateful component, I think they're called, where it's like it has an open state and a closed state. You have to manage that state somehow. So you just come up here. You have to change this up a little bit, right? We got to use a React component. So what is it? Export class app extends React.component or whatever, however you do that. And then of course, it's a class, so I gotta have a render function now. How do you do this?
You need to,
Okay, that's cool. So again, basic React component, right? The other way actually is React. So React always turns your JSX components into React components. So it's not like I'm really doing anything here or adding any memory. But let's see, render. What was I doing? Oh yeah, state. So I need a state in here. State equals is open. False, because I don't want it open. Let's do true though. Maybe we do true to start out. Make sure it even works. And then right here, navigation, I think I just say is open equals this dot state dot is open. So that should start out open. Nah, it doesn't like that. Let's see. I did this wrong. Export default. Sorry, forgot that. Nah, it's not open. I guess there's just nothing in there. Maybe that's why. Oh, because I put in the wrong one. Hold on. It needs to be inside menu. Is open this dot state dot is open. There we go. It's open. There's nothing in there. But that's my side menu there, kind of helping me out a little bit. Also, it kind of looks like it's coming from the left. Oh, I guess from default it comes from the left. I like to put things on the right because my left. Oh, you want to put it on the right because you want your left side to be a back button. In this example, I'm not sure how apps do it anymore. So it is open. So let's add some goods in here. Is open. And you don't have to. Don't think that I'm cheating here. You can go to here if you want.
Man, that's pretty awesome. As soon as I click save, it just starts
Yeah.
doing it on the phone.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It has that, but that also causes sometimes the timing issues. But 90% of the time, it saves you a lot of time. So here's all the options for that side menu. There's a lot of great things about side menu, like all kinds of customizations. I don't know why this doesn't get more love. 2 years old, but it is. It's been helping me. So I'm going to put menu position on the right because I want my left to have a back button. Oh, don't put commas. Menu position equals left or right, I mean. And I don't know where this was there. Auto close. That might be important. On change. So if I change, oops, if I change something, I guess that's important. I don't want to keep it open. So that looks good. That looks good. And then I have like a really nice little menu here. let's see, this menu, I'm just passing in a component to actually render inside there, which is pretty neat. It's not just like a lid. I can put like a picture in there. I can do whatever I want. I just put a basic view, and I just put a bunch of A tags, links, right? They're not A tags because it's React Native, but they're links to home, page 1, page 2, and I just use links like any router, like React Router does. And I'll remove this stuff for now so we can figure out why it's there anyway.
Do nav links work the same way?
Like nav elements? What do you mean nav links? Oh yeah, like this? Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of link, just nav link.
Oh, I don't know. What does nav link do? Typically.
It gives you more, I guess, control over the style of the link. Like
Oh.
it gives you like an active class and.
No, you have to do all that stuff yourself here. I'm not even sure how you would do like, well, there's no hover on a phone, so you can't do hover. I imagine there's like a press. I don't know. I've never thought about it. I always use CSS frameworks or whatever. I don't care. I'm not paid the right style. So, okay, so yeah, so I just put in really basic, just basically A tags that navigate to the respective routes. And let's see what happens here. Can't find variable text. That's right, I'm using text. Make sure to import that from React Native. Again, a text is equivalent to a span. So this is pretty cool. Can I swipe it? Yeah, I can swipe it. There we go. And so now I have some nice little navigation there. So home, if I do page 1. So it navigated, you saw it move, but it like didn't go away. And I think that looks bad. You kind of want to click and then the thing navigate. And so I put these little cheaters in here that say, hey, when I click this, close the side menu. Though I don't think this is the most efficient way. Whoa, huh. I'm putting my foot in my mouth. This thing's been running the whole time back here. Does it work? No, it doesn't work. I can't even figure out how to shake it. How do I do this? Virtual sensor? No. I don't know if someone can figure it out. It's in there somewhere. I know I've used it. Whatever. What was I doing? Oh yeah. So now when I navigate, open. Yeah, it like closes. Kind of gives like a weird. Looks like a weird. Oh, look, back button's there. That's cool. That's important, right? So like I said, you have to implement that yourself. Luckily, we have a library that kind of takes care of that for us, but it does automatically put it over here. You have to do some CSS or whatever style stuff to move it, but that goes back. That's cool. This is like enough. It's like enough routing, right? There's cool apps now with really cool routing though, and this isn't that. But this is like you could get away. Half of your apps are like this. This is like a pretty standard way to navigate. Does everyone agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not like super old. I'm telling you, this is what they do. But for the life of me, I cannot get it to look good. Supposedly I can move it down to the bottom, but I can't figure it out. It's like its style is all jacked. But this is good. This is enough. This is enough to get your app off the ground. Definitely. Hopefully you can change the thing so it doesn't look like this. So that's cool. The last thing though is the person won't know to do that, right? So we want to make sure to add a little button up there. So if I go to the Expo docs, so Expo is more, it's a little bit more than a platform. It also gives you like a free little components. If you ever use Font Awesome, they kind of give you like a Font Awesome-esque type thing that actually uses Font Awesome, so that's nice. So Expo icons, let's see. Cool, so I should be able just to import whatever from Expo. And I think I can export Font Awesome or Font Awesome 5. That's cool. And I'm going to come down here and say, what am I going to say? Render right button on my navigation here. this does not go there. Render right button. It's not an important font also. I'm gonna do like the three little bars there. And now, boom, it's pushed over a little bit, but other than that, it works. Yes.
I have a question. So, in your opinion, what is the best way for handling like persistent state? Like in the browser, you have session storage and local storage.
Yes, that's a great question. That's actually really useful for things like JSON Web Tokens, right? You gotta store that somewhere, somewhere local on the device. You actually have a Expo. Expo provides like a local storage. I think it may be called local storage, and it works very similar. Let's see, storage, async storage. Yep, so same way as local storage, set item, all right, set item and get item. Same way, you just, it's asynchronous, so you just use the async await stuff. Yeah, but you can do async, set item, you set a key and a value, and then you can get it by asking for it afterwards. So that's a great way to get like JSON Web Tokens, because you have to have that token. So when you close the app, you open back up the app, you can check to see if there's a token already and kind of auto sign in. Yeah, that would be the way to do JSON Web Token authentication. So very straightforward. That's one of the nice things here. So any questions so far? I mean, that's like the, a good place to get started. We'll move into some more advanced, or how to find components is like kind of a thing itself. But so far, does everyone feel pretty good about this? Has this like enlightened anybody? Like now it's like not so bad, not so scary now.
Really, it was all that install, like you said.
Yeah. This kept me up a lot of nights. I gotta tell y'all, I'm kind of jealous because I've never seen it kind of explained like this so well. Yeah. But don't get too comfortable because it'll change in 6 months and you'll be whatever. But this is nice. And again, so going through this now, we have frameworks. Yeah, so, hopefully no one here is paid to do styling. I don't envy you. But if you're just trying to get your app off the ground, native base used to be the most popular one. In fact, if you ever, Microsoft, I think, backs it. At least they're a supporter of it. This is sort of like the Bootstrap. This is like the big, honking one that came first. But it's pretty cool. It has a lot of great stuff in it. The thing that always gets me is buttons. Like, I'm too busy to do buttons. So you come here and you have, your nice little bootstrappy buttons, which are nice. Your cards, it's 2019. Everything's in a card now. So there's cards. Checkboxes, date pickers, because things are different now. Like you select it and it like opens up like a little, on Android it's like a little clock thing, right? Or on iPhone like a little thing pops up and you like set today. You need that stuff. And so this will it show it on here? Yeah, so here's an Android one right here. And then here's you can't see it because my screen's too big, I think. Yeah, there it is. That's like the iOS one, right? You want that stuff out of the box because you want it to be native. Right, and that is the native one, but you don't want to like reinvent wheels here, right? You want to use the things that people know. You don't want to like engineer some stupid way to enter a date. The deck swiper is pretty cool. It's not super robust, but it's kind of like Tinder left and right. But I did link to a better one, so don't use this one. This one's kind of garbage, but it is kind of cool that it comes for free out of it. So, or Instagram maybe. I don't know. Does Instagram do that? Maybe not. What else we get out of here? If you're a big like Android fan, you get like the little buttons. Android does that garbage. Forms are nice, and yeah, so y'all can fight that. I've actually spent most of my time in native base. It's not great, but it's good. I definitely would use it again if I had to, but this other one looks better to me, and I think it's more popular. I think it's easier to use, so let's go take a look at it.
So in your experience, I'm new to mobile.
Yeah.
Like, and like for building production sites, like, or apps, like, do a lot of people use Expo?
Yeah, I would say Expo is equivalent to Create React. Are you a React developer?
Mhm.
You know Create React app? Okay, Create React app is a production ready like setup. Like it is. Like you really can't do better than Create React app. It'd probably be pretty hard to kind of make it more optimal at the beginning. You know, later you probably muck it up, but at the beginning. But then Create React app also has like an eject button that where if you have to do something crazy onto your Webpack or something, you eject everything and Create React app sort of explodes into all the hidden stuff and you can go in and tweak stuff. That's what Expo kind of is. Like everyone starts in Expo and you just try to stay inside your bubble as long as possible. You know, you get funding, you get, you know, a small team together, stuff like that. And then eventually you're gonna have to do something that Expo doesn't support. And then hopefully you have good people around you because then you're just kind of like the big ocean. You click eject, same thing. You say Expo eject and now you're kind of on your own. You can't use Expo anymore. You can't use all of it anymore.
So what is, like, why is React Native better than like Xamarin? Because in Xamarin you have like one code base and you get like 80% code reusage between like Android and iOS.
Well, I mean, Xamarin's what, C#, probably,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's just because everyone's a JavaScript developer now, you know, so this is really just a JavaScript version of Xamarin. So yeah, if you're a C# developer, you know, always use the language that your team knows or that you know to get your product. React is just a super hot product right now, and so that's why it's popular. But you're right, Xamarin's a totally valid one to use, and it reacts in most of the same, it works in most of the same way.
So when you write like this code and you're ready to publish it to like the App Store,
Yeah.
like let's say you have the iOS version and then you have the Android version,
Yeah.
like will you have to tweak the code after if you get your build?
No, so Expo does take care of that. As long as you're inside their bubble, it does take care of that pretty well. It'll build on their servers, and you'll say, I think you literally say the words,
Turtle, right?
like, huh?
Is it the turtle thing?
The what?
The server they built it on.
The build? Oh, their server?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have like special keys that Expo like won't give you. Like Expo has permission to sort of like push it on your behalf, I think. I don't remember why it builds on their servers. Maybe it's actually more of a convenience because you may not be able to develop an iOS app if you have a Windows, but since you're building on their servers, it'll let you build an iOS app. So it's actually pretty nice that they provide. Maybe that's the only benefit, I don't remember. But yeah, but that's neither here nor there. It's just a command that you say Expo publish :iOS, and it'll actually push it to your Apple developer account, and then you move to test flight and all that stuff. Yeah. So Expo really, and I'm not sure how far Xamarin goes for the App Store. I don't know if it has App Store integrations.
Oh, like for deployment?
Yeah.
I don't think it does.
Yeah, I think you have to
need
export
something
and drag it.
Yeah.
A lot of it. So that is where Expo, I think, kind of is better than Xamarin. But again, it's really just whatever language the team knows. Yeah.
Do you have to push it to Expo for it to be displayed on your little profile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just Expo publish,
Okay.
and it's real easy. Like I bet I could do it right now. Let's see. Expo. That's the easy one. They'll at least try. No, I'm not going to do it because there's something there that I want to overwrite that I have a client for that I forgot. But anyway, it'll do it. It'll push it up, and then you can share. It has some sharing options, especially on Android, that you can do.
Cool.
What's really cool is that there's like a code pin for React Native apps that Expo does called Snacks. Yeah, Snacks. So you can actually build like a React Native app in the browser, and it like builds for you on the right. So that's how a lot of people like share like bugs and stuff, which is pretty cool. Yeah, they're called Snacks. They're kind of fun.
Yeah,
They're
I
like-
only know that because I was just scrolling down.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, they're cool, but it's like code pin for React Native apps, and it is the way to share things. What other questions we have before we move on? Yeah.
So all these Expo plugins, like, do you need to know like C# or Swift to actually write those plugins? Like, you want it to like.
Oh, if you wanted to build them?
Yeah.
You have to have wrappers.
It's not just JavaScript. Okay.
Yeah, so they're not super easy. But I have not built one. Like I've built React components before. I have not built one of these, so I don't know the level of complexity it
Okay.
is. it's possible you could probably combine, like, you could probably build a component that used other people's components, and then maybe you wouldn't have to write any.
Yeah.
But from scratch, probably.
But like in theory, like if I was like, oh, this sidebar component isn't working for me, I could still write my own in JavaScript if I was feeling ambitious, or probably not.
No, you can write. You can use. So that's a good question. So remember, JavaScript kind of started in the browser, right? And your browser has like JavaScript stuff that sometimes we use on accident and not even really think about, like window dot whatever, or what A to B, like converting into base64 or something like that. But you just gotta be careful not to use that stuff because there is no browser.
Yeah.
But a lot of times Node has equivalents, and if you can bring it in, and if it's just logic, it almost always works. But if there's any sort of view to it, like if you bring in like a table component that makes tables, like sorting tables really nice,
Yeah.
that's most likely a whole bunch of HTML under the hood, and that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Commander's pretty awesome.
Commander is great, yeah. If you've never used Commander and you've been on Windows and struggle a lot, use Commander. You can also install the Ubuntu shell on Windows now. You gotta follow some instructions, but that's pretty cool too. Let's see. Maybe we got a little bit more time. Okay. So yeah, we left off. So native base was the big one, but it's also the older one. There's a lot of patches, a lot of bugs, stuff like that. This is just newer. I've kind of played with it. I think it's a little bit nicer, but it definitely has less components. So again, you use it just like you would use React Strap or Bootstrap. It's very, very similar. So highly recommend start with that. Don't go writing a bunch of stuff. Here's some really popular other things that I've personally used and I think are great and really easy to implement, surprisingly easy to implement. This first one's this calendar sort of view. It's not just that though, it's that one and little like dots, like little iCal, little dots. But what I really like is you can do ranges, sort of like selecting like flights, start and end dates. And there's no example of the one I like. Oh, this one, the agenda, where it's like it's a full calendar and you click it and it's like an agenda, and it's all like you get all those views out of the box, as long as you format your data correctly. So I don't know how this would be hours and hours of work, and this is really nice, and it's just you just install it and it works. You don't have to do anything crazy. I think it's made by Wix. Yeah. So that's cool. You also have to worry about sometimes you have to make sure that it works on Android and iOS. It's not always the case. Sometimes you have to find two different libraries. There's a good way to do that. I'll show you in a second. This one's pretty cool. This is like the hot new thing is like Tinder defined like the new thing. Like there was nothing really before Tinder that used like swiping cards, right? There's even like a Tinder mode on here. That's like a big deal on mobile, I think, in my opinion. And this just gives you that, or even like starting, like when you open an app for the first time, you have to like go through little tutorial cards, right? Like you need stuff like this in mobile apps because people already know how to use them. You don't want to reinvent that stuff. And so this is the most robust one I've seen. That other thing we just looked at, it has one, but it's garbage. This one's a lot better. So very important to pick components that people are familiar with. Chat's actually surprisingly easy to set up. Whether you use sockets, whether you use sockets with something like, Pusher, is that what it's called? Pusher, and they even have one called, they have a product called ChatKit that's like super cheap sort of WebSockets that integrate and have like a whole thing about how to get it working with Expo and React Native app. This is sort of the UI that you would use, but I did this and it's like super, super easy. I actually used notifications instead of sockets, and it kind of let me save it on the back end too. Notifications are kind of weird to set. If you stay inside Expo, notifications are like stupid easy. Outside, it's kind of hard. Yeah, so these are all components that are in just about every mobile app. Okay, so how do you find native stuff? This site just has everything. Thank God no one made like more than one. but everything's pretty much indexed here, and it's pretty easy. You know, if you want a calendar, Expo calendar is the one that comes out of Expo. It's like pretty basic. Here's like the nice one from Wix, I think. I don't know. Anyway, a whole bunch of different ones, but you got to pay attention to the greens. You got to, you want to make sure it's on iOS and Android if you're building iOS and Android, but you got to make sure it works inside Expo. Sometimes they don't, like this one doesn't. If you're not using Expo, you don't care, but if you are using Expo, it's not gonna fly. Let's see if I can find a picture. No. Sometimes it's kind of scary since it's like not web. Sometimes they don't provide an example of what it looks like, so it's kind of, you're gonna spend some time installing something and be like, this isn't even what I wanted. I wish there was a picture. Come on, give me a picture. I don't know if that's what I want. It's hard. So that's native directory. Try to always check here, and always try to check here to see if there's something better. Because if you just Google, you're gonna find like a 4-year-old library and be like, I guess this is the only one. And you're gonna use it, and there's gonna be something way better on here. So always try to check on here. I think it's kept up pretty well. I don't know if it's user submitted or if it uses NPM as an API, but someone told me about this way later, and I had to go rip all kinds of old junk out that I thought there were no equivalents to. So start here.
Are there any good React Native like Cedar projects that you use or recommend, or do you always build everything from scratch?
Yeah. So Expo. If you go through Expo, it'll kind of give you one with basically just tabs at the bottom. It's really garbage. Don't do that.
So just like a really basic.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. I mean, people make boilerplates. Like I made a boilerplate a long time ago. I don't know one off the top of my head, but most apps like that chat app is basically all that stuff is sponsored by the people who want you to use their thing called ChatKit, which is made by Pusher. But they have like cool YouTube videos. They're like, let's build like a real life chat app that go back and forth from each other, right? I mean, if y'all can figure out how to build a better Signal or WhatsApp or whatever, like that's all anyone ever wants is like better encryption with that stuff. If y'all know something about encryption, just build a freaking chat app. People will use it. I mean, the mafia will probably use it or something. But if one people use stuff, that's cool. Yeah, but there's usually the same amount of tutorials. But again, this is not as developed as the web, right? Like it's a lot of Stack Overflowing. There's not always a lot of documentation, and sometimes stuff just doesn't work. Like you are really bound by like Apple. Like for instance, you can't quite do. What can you not do right now? Oh man, I think it is WebRTC. I don't think UI view. I don't think iOS web view. I don't think anything in. No, it's web view. Sorry. Yeah, a lot of times you can hack stuff to use like Safari web view, and it like opens up a library. I do it for like Stripe, because Stripe doesn't work with Expo. So you press the button and it opens up like a little like a Safari window. You've seen apps like that. Opens up a Safari window, but you're really like limited on what you can do because Apple has very tight control over Safari and the UI web view. Maybe it doesn't make sense I'm talking about that example, but you'll find out. And let's see what else we got. Yeah, a lot of frequently asked questions. Can't use divs and spans, but you can use views and text. Same garbage. Will your favorite React libraries work? This is more of like a UI. Will your UI libraries work? No, they weren't not going to work. Right? Those are all HTML. That's HTML stuff. You can't use that junk. But other libraries that aren't specifically React, like Redux, right, and the React Redux bridge or whatever that thing is, that stuff works just fine because it's all just like in-memory stuff, right? So that stuff works just fine. Highly recommend it. Redux works. Highly recommend it. DevTools. If you install this, and it's really easy to install, I just didn't want to do it because I wanted to explain how to install Homebrew or whatever. You can do it with Windows too somehow. But it basically gives you this stuff. Oh, where is it? You know what I'm talking about, like the React DevTools where you can like highlight stuff, and then also the Redux. but yeah, but it basically opens up a Chrome window with Redux and React installed for you, and it actually like works just like you would build a web app. It has like your little animated little Redux thing, and it builds like the little tree. You know what I'm talking about? A little Redux, all that garbage you like and are used to. It does that. Super vital, I think, with our good debug tools. That's a solid one to get. You just follow the instructions. Yeah, I think on Windows you download it like this. On Mac, if you have Homebrew, you just do that and follow the instructions, and it's really easy to integrate. And then if you're a Vue person, I still haven't met anyone who does Vue. Do y'all do Vue? Someone's got to do Vue.
It's really popular
So-
in Asia.
Yeah. People always tell me it's really popular somewhere, but I can't find anyone who does it. No. Anyway, there's a Vue. If you really like to get really weird, there's a Vue native, which is actually just a wrapper on top of React Native, which is, I don't know, it blows my mind. So if you're a Vue, if you know someone who does Vue, apparently you can use this. I've never used it. That's way too many levels for me. But that's neat. And there's also, this is going to really blow your mind, there's a super fringe library right now called React Native Web. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. So React Native Web takes a React Native app, like your views and your spans and all your components, and spits out HTML components. So it's like full circle, right? Like React was made for web to go to native. React Native Web is for React Native to go back to web. And it's actually pretty cool. I actually did build a React Native Web that was almost exact. Everything worked. The calendar little, like how did that calendar thing work? But it did. A calendar thing worked. It just spit out HTML. It worked. Because views and text are obviously equivalent to divs and spans, right? And all your CSS is the same, and so it just kind of worked. The little chat thing, that worked, like all of it. So that's pretty cool. You know, you can check out React Native Web. Most of the time, if you just follow rules and kind of read the forums, you can almost just say, like, install it and say go, and it'll generally just work. It'll actually make like a little web app that you can launch and host. So it's not for the faint of heart, though. And let's see, what other tips can I give you? Like APIs. So React Native comes with like the proxying service where you like proxy things through. But localhost doesn't work the same with Expo. You don't really have a localhost where you can like call an API. Your API has to be an actual address over the internet. So you have to use something like ngrok. You can't just say localhost. There is no localhost here. It's all like native stuff on your phone. So make sure that if you're doing API stuff that you do ngrok. Does anyone know what ngrok is? It's pretty cool. It's like this. Watch. Let me think how I'm gonna do it. Forgot it. This time. Let's say I did. Let's say I was working on the Austin Coding Academy website. And I did. Oh man. Oh. This is like it's all Jekyll. So we all know like localhost, right? You do localhost or 127, whatever. So here's like our website that we're breaking something. But if I wanted to share it with someone over the internet, this is really good for client work, by the way. I can't tell a client to go to localhost 4000. Doesn't make any sense because that's local. What you can do is in a different window, you can install ngrok. You can go to ngrok.com or whatever. Install ngrok, and I want to create an HTTP server on port 4000. And it actually exposes that port on the internet and gives me a link. And so now I can give this to any of y'all or any clients, and they can actually see. It can be exposed, and it gives you like 30 minutes. No, not hopefully longer than 30 minutes. It gives you 12 hours, 8 hours. Gives you 8 hours for free that you can just do, and you just spin it up. So if you have an API, you got to make sure to do ngrok, because you're gonna have to give absolute URLs to your API. Does that make sense? That's not too bad. That's not a big ask. I mean, and also, I mean, most people do like Facebook integrate. If y'all have done like Facebook OAuth stuff, like all those companies are like locking it down to where you have to use HTTPS, even if it's localhost. So, you know, get comfortable doing stuff like this. Let's see. Okay, I hate giving extra time. Does anyone have any other questions or gotchas or how I do something on here?
Oh, I was gonna ask about unit testing. So,
So you can do unit testing the same way as anything. You use what Jest or whatever React people use. Because I mean, you test your back end. Your front end stuff, if you want to do like UI testing, I don't know how to do it locally, but I know like things like Browser Stack. Browser Stack has automation, iOS automation, so you can use Browser Stack as a service. I think it's totally worth it, but it's not cheap. And if you want a continuous integration, you got to make sure that, like, Travis won't help you there, right? Because they don't have Xcode. The only thing that I know, there's a lot of them that do it. The only thing I use is Circle CI, and you have to pay for an iOS plan or a Mac plan, and it'll give you Xcode, so it'll let you run your tests on a continuous integration there.
so like on your React Native app, you can just install Jest in Enzyme and create unit tests.
Yeah, because it just tests React components like any other. I honestly haven't done it though. I really don't know. I don't know if Jest works locally. I'm not sure how to do unit tests on React Native stuff. I imagine it works like that. I'm sure you can do it. But a lot of people just like the equivalent of what Selenium is. You come here and you can, it's called App Automate. And you just, I don't know if you use like their stuff, but you can test your app here. So that's like how but you have to send it to them somehow. If you want continuous integration, you need to make sure that you have your build containers have Xcode installed. Circle CI is one of my favorite ones. You can pay for a Mac build. So the Linux ones are free, but build on Mac is not cheap. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of companies actually, since this is kind of expensive, a lot of companies actually have a board. They actually have one here. They have like a board with everything on like every version. They used to have one here. You used to be able to rent them. But they used to have to build boards with all the different devices they support, and then they kind of like run them on all of them.
So can you use, like, I'm on the Jenkins website, and that's what I normally use. Can you use Jenkins for deploying? Or,
With Expo you can,
okay.
I believe. Yeah, Expo you can because you can build on Expo servers. So you should be able to use something like Jenkins. But if you install Jenkins on, like y'all have like in the cloud somewhere, like an AWS cloud. If you need a Windows machine, you would use Azure. If it's Linux, you put it on anything. I don't know, are there any Macs in the clouds that y'all know of? I can't think of any right now. I can't think of any remote Macs. So I know what a lot of people do is they keep a Mac Mini in their office and they use it as builds. And that's actually a perfect use case for Jenkins.
Okay.
So I know people have done that before. That might be why they do it now I think about it. They just stick a little cheap Mac Mini in the corner. Other than routing, everything else is really straightforward, normal React stuff. Just make sure that it's compatible with Expo. I'm trying to think of any crazy stuff that Expo has thrown me for a loop for. I don't know, can't think of anything. Make sure to test on every single stupid device because it's hard. It's hard out there, guys. This little stupid thing right here, you have no idea. You have no idea how hard it is to code for this little notch there. Yeah, that's bad.
What are they gonna do when they start making the folding phones?
Oh man, I
Oh,
can't.
no.
I don't even think about it. I think watch apps are pretty cool. React Native doesn't work with the watch, but React Native and Expo will work for the companion app. If anyone has a watch, you know that you can't just install a watch app. You install like an app on your phone that is basically just a placeholder and then it works on your watch. You can build those with React Native, but the actual watch app itself has to still be Swift. Apparently it's really easy to build, but I haven't yet. Some people have tried to start porting it. Let's see, React Native watch. I'm actually really excited about it. I like the watches and I like the watch apps. See, this is the connectivity that's pretty popular. I can't even, someone tried and it didn't work. This might be the most popular one, but that's cool. Yeah, I got nothing else, guys. Are y'all pretty satisfied with this workshop?
Yeah.
I like doing workshops like this.
Yeah.
I usually start from scratch and just talk out loud the whole time.
I love all this information that you gave us. I would have remembered all of
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
I really
yeah.
appreciate
I try to stay really strict to what I do, put a lot of thought into it. And I try to cut away everything. Nothing worse than a tutorial that has like a pound of CSS or something on it, and you're just like, I don't even know what was normal. Yeah, we're good, yeah.
But with Expo,